It's Monday, August 3rd. Welcome everyone to Bellefonte Borough Council work session. No council action. Oh, sorry. No council action is taken during the work session. So our items for discussion, Bellefonte Borough Capital Improvement Program, Streets, Refuge, Building and Grounds, Public Works, Building and Grounds Administration, Parks and Recreation, Water and Sewer. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Perbolka. I'll give you about 10 minutes to cover all of these. Great, David.
Thank you, Mr. President, and welcome everybody. This is the second of two work sessions scheduled to review the draft capital improvement program for program years 2027 through 2031. Following any amendments from council or discussion this evening, there's a action item on your regular meeting agenda to consider adoption of the CIP by resolution. This evening really is the Public Works show. It covers all of the subcategories that fall under the purview of Public Works, and particularly Street Superintendent Matt Aumann, who's going to walk us through his items momentarily. So for discussion this evening, the sub-departments, if you will, include Streets, Refuse, Building and Grounds, which includes both this facility and the facility next door, which houses the Police and Public Works Department. Also included in that is the Parks requests for the 5 years of the CIP. And with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Aumann to take us through. We do have some visuals to display for our streets projects that are in the horizon of the CIP. So if council or anybody has any questions about those or want to take a look at what we have in store, we'll be able to bring up the aerial and talk through any questions you might have. So, Matt, you want to take it away?
Sure, absolutely. It's going to be 10 years old. Has a truck, plow, and salt spreader. There's a street sweeper on there that is also a 2012. It's nearing the end of its life, so we would like to get that on the CIP for future costs. We have the normal miscellaneous tools, shovels, asphalt loots, just anything that would wear out throughout the year. We have a street paving project, which is kind of up on the projector right now. We did the Violytics road assessment. Basically, that's how we formatted the streets. What's that? Yeah, you could show the one of all the streets. There's an overview of the streets. The streets in red are the ones that are obviously outlined as the ones that need attention. I believe there's some in gray that are a little bit more dire. There is a little bit of a ledger there that you can kind of read off of as a reference. So basically everything that we have for the street paving over the next 5 years has been outlined through the Violytics program that we used here back in May. Is there any questions on any of the streets outlined?
I'm just curious how it's been with that software.
It's been good. We did our initial assessment, like I said, in May. It came up with a lot of reports, a lot of information. We were able to abstract this relatively easily. Now, we haven't played with it a whole lot, but we have dabbled in a little bit with the CIP. So it's definitely, there's a lot of information to be in there. We're going to start obviously utilizing some of it for like the street signs and stuff that identified that don't meet the MUTCD code. So there's a lot of stuff that we got out of it for the initial assessment. Yes.
So on the street signs replacement, 4 or 5 years ago, we did a wayfinding, and part of that wayfinding included in the historic district adding a little round icon on top of the street signs, and so that people understand that the brown signs are historic district. Is that included in this or not?
That is not included in this. I was not aware of any of that.
It's in the other. It's in the.
Yeah. In Parks and Rec, we included a implementation of too far. I went past it. Oh, I'm sorry. It's in Gina's. You're correct. That's right. It's in Office of Community Affairs. Let's see what page we're on. Wayfinding sign implementation on page, 17 of 19 in the CIP, or 160 of your agenda. Starting in 2029, we have 10,000 in 29, 30, and 31 for wayfinding sign implementation. We didn't get into the details of what specific signage we were talking about. That would be something we would hold to the discussion of that particular program year based on what we could appropriate, what we could afford to get done. But that's where the wayfinding implementation was folded.
So I think on the capital improvement plan, there should be some note on it to kind of integrate those two, because they're both dealing with the same sort of things to some extent.
You mean as far as, because it says wayfinding sign implementation, but you want to amend?
What I want to make sure of is that when the other street signs, they know that there's going to be these clips on the street signage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, most of the numbers you've seen in there for street signs are for like stop signs, speed limit signs. We just did all the street name signs here probably less than 10 years ago, so they should last probably another 10, 15 years. So that's really not on the forefront of replacing all those again.
Okay.
Thank
yeah,
you.
the street name signs are a long way off. Okay. The next item I have for 2027 was the stormwater project on Shady Lane. We have some failed infrastructure for stormwater runoff and a catchment at the end of Shady Lane. There is new streetlights and infrastructure on West Lynn. We're putting some money in there for that. We have the decorative street lighting has been failing, and the wiring is failing as well. Obviously, we just talked about street and road sign replacements. That's just an annual thing. We have that amount in there for replacements for worn out signs, faded signs. Once again, we have another vehicle in there in the office. It's really not for the office. It's for the Assistant Superintendent of Public Works. It's a vehicle he uses. It's nearing the end of its life. It's 23 years old, and it's on its last leg. For 2028, again, another new truck. This would be a small dump truck, an F550. It would be outfitted with a plow and a spreader. That's per our normal rotation of vehicles. Again, the same miscellaneous tools, an outline street paving project that obviously can be adjusted depending on things that may arise throughout the year. The street sign replacement. Then we go to the stormwater project and paving on East Lamb and North Wilson Street. I'm sure some of you are aware we had Dawn Franson do some work for us out there last fall to try to figure out where to put some storm boxes and to redo some of the stormwater issues that we have out there. And then another new vehicle that would be for mine for the 2011 Colorado. Then we move into 2029. It's another F350 plow truck and salt spreader. Just same thing, keep them, rotate them out every 10 years. There's a new mini excavator on this one for the street department. There's a new equipment trailer to go with that mini excavator. Once again, miscellaneous tools, street paving project that was outlined by Violytics and some of our staff. The street sign replacement, once again, like normal. And then we move into 2030. It's pretty much the same tools. Outline street paving project. And then and I think that's it for 2030. Then 2031, we move into another plow truck and salt spreader tools and street paving. Is there any questions? Yes.
Are all of these new vehicles?
Yes.
Or are they any of them used? Because I did notice in another section we asked for a used vehicle.
Those are all new vehicles. All of our all of our plow trucks we buy new. We are able to use liquid fuels money for that equipment, so we try to get rid of them in 10 years, so we're not into major repairs, and then we sell them on municipal bid, and that money goes back into the general fund.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
I also had the same question, and then do you get a good return then if you just keep them for, 10 years and then?
Yeah, we usually get a pretty good return. For example, the last, I think, F550, it's like a smaller dump truck. We ended up selling it for, I believe, like 35 or 38,000. So we did recoup quite a bit of the cost of, that way they're not rotted out and totally useless. People do bid on them and buy them, and we tend to do fairly well. Seems to be the same method of operation that most municipalities use around us. When it gets that 10-year mark, so you're not having major breakdowns and issues, you get rid of them, and the return seems to be better. So far, it's been working out pretty good.
Are any of these vehicles specially equipped? I mean, the plow?
Yeah, they all come. We upfit them all with a plow and a salt spreader when we do them. Mm-hmm. Not always the salt spreaders. Usually they last about 15 years, but we're into that round right now where we got to do the salt spreaders when we do the trucks.
And then the vehicle that is for the assistant superintendent, is that also a new one? And
those could be used ones. I think we put them in there as new. I think just worst case scenario. Obviously in the past we've got used, and I'm not opposed to that. We just sometimes it's hard to procure a decent used vehicle, and sometimes it's not.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Doug.
Matt, so replacing the street sweeper, do we put that on muni bid, and is it still resellable, or is it?
Yeah, what we have is still resellable. I think it's not totally shot, but it's nearing the end of its life. Here in the next couple of years, before we have a major repairs, what I want to try to avoid it. It's getting rusty. When it gets that old, all it does is deal with wet water and sloppy messes. But we've got a little bit of time, but I wouldn't want to stretch it to the end of this cycle. I can tell you that. I mean, we're getting there. But yeah, I think there's still a value in it.
Good. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Any more questions? Okay. I guess we'll move on to the refuse department. Not much here for 2027. The normal replacing tools, PPE. One of the major projects that I have in there is the driveway going up into the compost facility. It's in bad condition, needs repaved. 28's pretty much the same, replacing broken tools. 29 tools. 2030 we're looking at obviously replacing the 2014 Peterbilt, which will obviously be 16 years old at that point. That's typical when we get rid of those, is around 15, 16 years. That same in 2030 broken tools, and then 31 it's all pretty basic in RCD. It's just pretty much maintenance in a garbage truck about every 15 years, so there's not much forthcoming there. So yes, Joey.
Another question on the Peterbilt.
Yes.
I know that many of these larger vehicles take several months or years to purchase and get.
Yes, correct.
So are you saying that in 2030 you're going to make the order, or will the order be made before that?
I'll make that decision as we get closer to 2030. Right now, the turnaround time's better than it was 3 years ago. They're saying it's about 6 months right now, which is back to normal. We'll really assess that as we get closer in 29. We'll reach out to the sales reps to see, kind of get a feeler for how that's working out.
Okay. So it might theoretically bump backwards to 2029 if necessary.
We may order it in 29 if there's a long lead time. Like the truck we just got last year, that was about a 10-month lead time, but it was special order. So yeah, we'll just have to feel that out a little bit when we get closer.
Okay. Thanks.
Yes. Any other questions? All right. Moving on to buildings and grounds for public works. 2027, I have some sidewalk and paving repairs at the rear of the lot. The sidewalk obviously is in bad condition along Water Street, And the pavement behind the building where we have the salt sheds and the police cars and everything parks is pretty rough shape. 28, we have replacing the roof of the police department. Obviously, we get that inspected twice a year, and it's something that's forthcoming that we've been made aware of. Looks like we missed 29 in here. The next one, obviously, we have the employee parking lot. Same condition. The parking lot's failing. It's getting old. We have some money put in there for that. The 2031, once again, we have another section of the roof over in the building above Public Works that's going to need replaced. Any questions on that building?
Yeah, I have a question that
Yes.
you had RH Marcon do the assessment. Is that who would be hired to do the roof?
Yes, they are a CoStarz provider, so they participate with government contracts.
Okay.
So yeah, we don't really have to put that out to bid, but they do. They have done the work. We'll be doing some this year for one of the other two sections.
Okay, thanks.
And that's actually my brother-in-law's company, so I can vouch.
Now they do a really good job. Any further questions? All right, we'll move on to the buildings and grounds for this building, the administration building. 2027, I've outlined 2 HVAC units for the ground level rental units at Fire Rock and Frontier. The current units are over 25 plus years old. We've had some issues with them, and luckily our contractor, PBCI Allen's been able to kind of keep them running for us, but so to speak, we're not sure how long they will last, so I want to make sure that it's up there on our forefront. We have upgrading lighting in the borough office space. It's the area, the entryway when you come through the door for the admin offices where Melissa sits. There's repair to the granite steps. Obviously, we put that in there last year to kind of be a heads up. We have the AV upgrades for the council chambers. Office furniture improvements, again, is upstairs, I believe, for the staff.
Yeah, just some break room. There's some appliances in the break room that are starting to fail. Most of it, or all of it, I guess, we inherited with the purchase of the building. So the curtains is really, the curtains are curtains. I mean, much of everywhere in the facility. They're crumbling. They're falling apart. So that includes council chambers, the Oak Room, administrative spaces, other places in the building. So we would try to do as much of it as we can, or perhaps spread it out over a period of years. But this would be to start the process of replacing some of those.
I do have a question about that. Have you done any research with the curtains? Are you looking for, heat reflective or anything that would be environmentally helpful?
I'm going to ask our resident feng shui artist.
No, currently we have not looked into anything that will be reflective or help with energy.
Insulating, yeah.
That would be something that we would definitely look into, definitely because the windows are not very insulated either.
They're not double pane.
They are double pane, but they are also about 30 years old. So
Okay.
I think they're-
All the gas is
the
gone.
gas in between
Okay.
them is pretty much gone. Yeah.
So I'd highly recommend that because it could make a big difference.
Would we need to make a motion to put that into there, or can that just be noted?
I think we would establish that when we got to actually evaluating what the options are. So I don't know that it needs to be called out in the CIP. Probably something we should talk about in budget, because if we get preliminary estimates that push that number up, we might put a little bit more in when budget comes around.
Yeah.
2030, I'll talk about that. So that is for, if you can visualize the administrative space, on the far corner, there's what we call the L room. You can guess why, because it looks like an L. And part of that, we've kind of made a makeshift conference space. There's a small circular table that can accommodate about 3 or 4 people. And then there's just some old flat file storage space in the back. There's a full bathroom back there, and equipped with shower and bathroom and all that. And then there's also the break room space. There's probably, with a little bit more investment than just replacing some of the appliances, we could make that space have a lot more utility for our needs up there. So it's out in the tail end of the CIP as just a placeholder to allow for some time to have a little more conversation about what that might look like. We think a lot of the work we can do in-house. As you all know, we have a very talented crew when it comes to this kind of thing. So the labor, this would primarily be for the material. It's just some new framing, maybe a little, plumbing and electrical, but nothing too ambitious. But with, I think, a little bit of maneuvering with those walls and some of that space, we can have a nice conference room for when we need it for various reasons, so that we're not disturbing other employees in that part of the office, and also be able to provide for some more storage of some of our paper files that we continue to maintain. So again, it's out there in the tail end. The number is just a very rough estimate based on similar projects, but as we get a little bit closer and we identify the need more, we can firm that up a bit. So is that any other questions?
Does anybody have any more questions?
Yes.
Vivian? Yes.
This is more of a heads up than a question.
All right.
On the repair the granite steps at the North Spring Street entrance, then just note there it says lower cost option to install concrete. You will need to go to HARB if you change it. So just be sure, understand that that's because the Secretary of the Interior's historic thing says in-kind materials, unless you can prove why you can't do that. So
I think it's a good point, and yeah, absolutely, we would plan to go through the HARB and council's review. I mean, Matt, as he mentioned, has been in prior meetings has been trying to get pricing from contractors who might be willing to do the work, and I think a few have changed their phone numbers. One we saw.
I've had nobody come back and give me a number. They drive by and look at it and all run scared.
You might want to check with Maria Day. She's a stonemason. Her company does that kind of work.
Sure. Yeah, and we absolutely will. And the number that we put in is our estimate based on what we think granite will cost. There's really no easy repair. It has to be completely taken out and reconstructed. The question for council is going to be whether that's the route you want to go for the cost that we expect it to be, whether we can maintain it in the years ahead, because the situation we're running into now is that it's beginning to sink. It's difficult to keep salt on it in the winter, and our concern is for public safety primarily, to be able to keep it free of snow and ice in the winter and try to maintain it as best we can, which is just more and more difficult. But for right now, that's our plan, is to go kind for kind with another granite contractor if we can find somebody who will return Matt's calls. So we'll try. She's on our HARB, I think, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I know her. Yep.
So the other question I have, and I don't know where it is in here, is I know that we're having problems with the entrance door downstairs and at the end of the hallway. Where is that in the capital improvement?
We have money in the budget to do that this year.
Okay.
So we're planning on going to HARB on the 11th, because we have pricing on aluminum frame doors with like a transom on top. We can probably talk with the contractor who's provided the proposal. What's the name of the outfit?
Nittany Building Specialist.
Nittany Building, and they're a CoStar's vendor, to see if they can put perhaps a veneer or some kind of facade on it to make it look more of the period. But the wooden, as Ms. Tosti-Vasey correctly points out, the wooden entry doors are they don't close in the hot and cold. So that's a problem. They're very difficult to maintain, very expensive. They're very heavy. So from an accessibility standpoint, even with the push buttons, for those that don't use them or maybe don't see that they're there, I've seen quite a few people struggling with opening those doors, myself included, maybe sometimes. But it would be nice to replace those with an easier to maintain and easier to use alternative that still maintains the character and aesthetic that we'd want to see from this building.
Well, my question would be, isn't it on?
It's on.
Yeah. My question would be, are we maintaining the aesthetic of the original building, or are we maintaining the aesthetic that Trinity Investment created?
Yeah, I'm not sure I can answer that. I think we would try to maintain this most recent version of the door, because I would assume that was acceptable to the Historic Review Board and to council.
And I think that's the
time.
way the Secretary of the Interior's thing says, is that you look at what the materials and what is in place. So it would be what Trinity did, I think. I can't guarantee that, but I think that's what it is.
Oh, okay. So,
It would be-
so once a new ballroom is built in Washington, then that is preserved until eternity, correct?
Theoretically.
I think it would be good to just research the history and see if it actually did pass HARB, and what the situation was when they remodeled. So get a little bit of the history of it.
Yeah, happy to do that. I mean, I think it's a little bit beyond my area of expertise. I'd rely on the contractor and, probably working with Gina Thompson to, see if we could find that original certificate of appropriateness when it was upgraded based on when it was last renovated. I think for me, just very simply, I think we just want something that's safer and easier to maintain and closes.
Yeah, obviously functioning.
And functions, yeah, thank you. That's what yes.
Okay, any further questions? All right, we'll move on to Parks and Recreation. 2027, we have our annual $10,000 that we typically put in there for tree maintenance, to help keep with the upkeep of the trees, because they're so tall we cannot maintain them ourselves. I have some money in there for the restoration of the brick walkway around the pergola and near the stone wall by the gazebo in Talleyrand Park.
So just to spend a minute on that, Matt's been getting pricing from a local contractor, local mason, who can restore that brick walkway area both around the pergola, which is really starting to undulate, and then kind of right around the fence, the mill race entry, which is another item that's next on here, but I'll set that aside for the moment. The other piece of brick walkway that's really deteriorated is along the stone wall. What's in your CIP is an estimate of replacing the brick with brick, kind for kind. At the appropriate time, a stamped concrete sidewalk, which we already have in Talleyrand Park, so you can kind of see an example of it near the sculpture garden, is something that might save the borough a good bit of money, and also give us the ability to set that grade a little bit more confidently than what we might be able to do with the brick installations. We know there's a length of that's memorial bricks or remembrance bricks that have been dedicated for various reasons. That's not the area that we're talking about. Right. That all looks pretty good. For the time being, we would leave that alone. It's really kind of the ends on either side along the stone wall and then near the pergola that needs some attention, because they're starting to become trip hazards and they're looking pretty degraded there. So
I have a related question for the brick walk along the wall on Spring Creek. They're near High Street. There's a section that goes down some steps, and this where the daffodils pop up rather explosively and prettily. in the summer, or in the spring. Is that included, or is it just along the?
That is not included, Joanne. We were going to leave that as it was. That seems to be in really good shape. We were just really going to focus on the walkway from the bridge side all the way down along that wall that's behind the gazebo.
Thanks.
Hey, Matt.
Yes.
When you say tree work, removal of dead and dying trees, is that just throughout the borough, or what
That's in the park zone.
Oh, in the park.
That's just out in Governor's Park.
Oh, at Governor's Park.
Governor's Park,
Okay.
basically. I mean, that's this
Yep.
year. This year alone, I think we did 12 of them. The Gypsy Moss did a number on us a couple
Okay.
years ago. But
Thanks.
Yeah.
What about the walkway on the waterfront walkway? Because there's about half of those trees are dead. Are they included in here?
We're actually going to try to remove those ourselves if we can.
Right. And I think
in the fall, we're waiting for the opportunity with how busy the road crew is. But Matt and I walked that, and we tagged the trees. Some of the ones we thought are dead
kind of bouncing back.
have shown some
Signs of life?
Yeah, but I still have to talk with an arborist and see if they're, if they have a prayer of surviving another winter. I mean, the last winter did a number on those trees. So this $10,000 item here, as Matt said, we were thinking mostly about Governor's Park, but it's really a budgetary placeholder or a planning placeholder, understanding that our goal is to try to, appropriate $10,000 per year, budget permitting, to do removal of trees or tree work, even planting and establishment of new trees. It's just kind of the tree budget, and we'll do with it what we can get done and what council wants to prioritize.
The only thing I would mention in that regard is I would look at in our ordinances it lists the invasive species that probably we should remove any of those that are on the invasive species list. Mm-hmm. So, it might be a green tree, but it might not be one that you really want in the park area. Mm. Well, actually in town. So.
I have a question about, do we have an arborist, a professional arborist that we work with?
No, I don't think we have one that we regularly. Maybe you have one.
I don't. I've used the one at State College Borough.
State College Borough has an arborist on staff who has provided consulting services to the adjacent municipality for a fee, of course. But he would probably be the person I reach out to and
Claudia, his name is Lance King.
Okay, and would we be hiring a company to remove the trees that are not?
Yes, correct. We typically hire a company.
And how do we go about doing that?
Basically, I usually use a couple different people, just depending on the price. They give me a cost per day for taking trees down, and they give me an estimate of how many days they think it'll take.
And you already know these people, or does it go out for bid?
Yes, they're contractors we've worked with for years, yeah. Okay. They're all local.
We're usually below the bidding threshold, so
right.
Well, I guess we're always below the bidding threshold. So it gives us the latitude to use local contractors, not have to worry about getting into prevailing wage. If we ever wanted to be more ambitious with the program, we could certainly put out a capital project, a bid, and then see what we could come up with. But that's not what we're proposing here anyway.
But can I give you a name of somebody to consider?
Certainly, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks.
absolutely. Okay, we'll move forward here. As Mr. Provolka alluded to, the fence replacement at the mill race by Talleyrand Park, we're currently working on trying to find a contractor to give us some pricing on that. We did put a number in there of $20,000 for that. We have also have some money in here for the design of the restroom at the Talleyrand Park. Moving on to 2028, it's the same.
Matt,
yes.
Excuse me a minute.
Yes.
Looking at 2027, the railroad spur that we were going to do the path on, will most of that be taken care of this year because it's not on here?
I don't know what kind of guidance what we got for that railroad spur is it exactly what we're doing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was kind of waiting for that.
Barb, it's on, I think, 2030 and 2028.
Right. So we have the preliminary. Well, we have the study completed by Stahl Schaefer. It's yet to be reviewed by the Parks Committee, which is why it hasn't come in front of council for your review and approval or acceptance, I guess. The studies developed 3 alternatives, and each one has a corresponding cost estimate that varies from I think around 800,000 to as much as 1.3 million, and that variable is largely dependent on stream crossings. The other influence that design will have on how we proceed with this is going to be what permitting is required, which if you're into stream crossings, you are into DEP permitting, and depending on where you're at, there might even be some federal permitting involved. So we built in a pretty long runway of design and construction. And again, as Ms. Tosti-Vasey pointed out, it's the first of that project. The first expense of that project is in 2028. If council chooses to advance it, we would be looking at starting design sometime in that year.
Right. I think and maybe I missed the answer. I think my question was when we originally just talked about the spur and kind of filling it in and just making it a place to walk. It really doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, I think we were kind of just holding off to see where this study went, where everybody's thoughts were. I think we were kind of waiting before we did any of that work, just in case it would be.
I was under the impression that this was going to happen first, was just a very simple path, and then maybe go on with the connector bridge and things. I didn't realize it was going to be held up because of this, if I'm hearing you correctly.
That's how I kind of understood it.
Yeah, you are correct, Ms. Dan. I think what we expected would be a relatively simple project of putting some aggregate in between the rail lines. Turns out it's going to be a little bit more complicated than that, based on what
if we go with this bridge and all those things.
Well,
right?
Regardless, I think even if you just want to put a walking path, whether it's ADA accessible or not, and that sort of ties those two ends of the rail spur together, you have to do some restoration of the site itself. They're starting to erode pretty heavily,
there are
so
places.
I think that was the lower of the three concepts. That was around the 800,000 to like completely restore that section without any of the crossings. I don't know.
I can't answer that.
Yeah,
I didn't think it was that much. I mean, it's definitely an investment, and there are things that need to be fixed. But that was the original thought when we started talking about this with the railroad spur. Is it was just nice to walk along the stream. As we go forward with this, I'm not a big fan of the connector trail and the bridge and everything. It's an awful lot of money. I don't think it's much of a benefit to our residents. So I have some concerns about all that. So I'm not sure where to bring that up. When is the best time to discuss that? And if we could go back, in my opinion, if we just went back to, can we make that a trail that's not going to cost us a lot of money?
So, and just to push back on it a little bit, there are several residents along South Potter Street that have talked to me that are excited about the idea of having a pathway, because right now they're concerned, particularly with the Benner Pike. They're expecting a lot more traffic to come down Potter Street, and they're not sure where they can walk, and that by Borough putting in that pathway, at least as far as the spur goes, that will help them to some extent. One of the people that I did talk to said he would like to have a sidewalk along South Potter, and I told him that is something streets would have to talk about, and it's not in any of our plans at this point.
So just going forward, to answer your question about timing and how to bring comments forward, council will be asked to consider the study that was done by Stahl Schaefer, the feasibility study, after the next Parks Committee, once Parks Committee's had their review and forwarded it. And I'll forward that study if I haven't already. Forgive me, I thought I did, out so you can take a look at it. But the nice thing about it, I think, is that it is likely that it can be phased. So if the immediate priority is, do some site restoration work to the stream bank that will allow us to put a stable, slip-resistant surface that ties the two ends of the spur together, then I think we can do that as one phase of the project, and then perhaps the next phase, if funding becomes available, or perhaps if there's grant opportunities that can offset a significant amount of the cost, we really don't have to commit to doing any of the crossing alternatives until we start to go down the road of permitting and engineering, because that's when you really have that window that you need to construct by, and that's when your commitment really starts. So maybe we can accommodate all of those alternatives as we go down that conversation a little bit further.
So as we approve this in the business meeting, there'll be a discussion, can things be changed and moved in this plan at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Move on to 2028.
Parks, just the same thing I said in the previous one. Several of these things will need a hard review because the park, Talleyrand Park, is in the historic district.
Okay.
Matt?
Yes, sir.
One thing on any of the work that we're doing on the brick walkway, the structure underneath is fine. You don't.
We won't know till we get it up. Obviously, there's something compromised underneath there, John, for it to be dipping and waving like it is. So there obviously needs to be a new substrate put down. We'll know better once they get it up. We're really not sure what it's like under there.
Okay.
Those are some of the unknowns that they're kind of building into the cost.
Okay. So
I have one more question. With the bricks, I believe somewhere they're stored more of those bricks so we could actually reduce the cost to some extent of the brick to brick. I just don't know where those bricks are stored.
Yeah, I'm not aware of us having that many bricks. I mean, obviously the bricks we were planning on reusing what was there, and obviously the ones that are broken, trying to replace with what we got, but I'm not sure we have that many bricks. Yeah, the price that you got is basically to tear up what's there, put back with what they have, and that does not include any new additional bricks that would be required. Okay, I'll move on to 2028. 2028, same as with the removal of the trees. We have money budgeted for that. There's a new zero-turn mower in there. We'll be replacing one that will be 20 years old at that point. We have the restroom construction, Talleyrand Park. I believe we have money put in there for a prefab building, just a placeholder for that, depending on where that ends up. The Talleyrand and Missoula connector trail, which David just talked about. There's money in there for design and permitting of that trail. 2029, the same with the tree work. We just put that in there every year in the budget. There's also to restore the sculpture garden entrance at Talleyrand Park. I believe is that the trough? Or is that is that on the next one? Oh, is it?
Two tall stone, the entrance is coming off of Water Street into the park. It's
Okay.
not the trough itself.
Okay, so just the piers coming in?
Yeah.
Hey, Matt,
Yes.
just restroom construction, Talleyrand Park, 200,000. What's that?
Well, go ahead, David.
That would be a placeholder for the restrooms that were talked about as part of the stage construction that need to be situated within 500 feet of the stage itself. Based on
When that stage was proposed, we were not investing any money into that project.
well, just
So if the stage wasn't there, would we be building the new restrooms?
That'd be a council question.
When we went into this project, you don't look down. We all said that the stage, we had no money invested into this. That $200,000 is coming out of our borough budget, not the stage budget. And that wasn't what we originally agreed upon.
Yes, yeah, excuse me. Yes, it is, Doug, but that is something that would be used then year-round, and it would serve a lot of people that are on that side that are walking or doing other things.
We've gotten by with that, and
I know.
If the stage wasn't there, we wouldn't be having this discussion. There's one restroom there that serves that park. That wasn't the agreement we agreed to when we got into the stage discussion. 200,000? Okay.
To just clarify, I didn't. It's not in here suggesting that it will be a borough-funded project, but it will be a borough project since it's on borough land. If we get money, and I'm not, saying where the revenue would come from, but whether it comes from the stage committee, a grant, borough funds, some other source, because it's on borough land, it would need to be a borough project, much like the stage itself. So I think the funding of it is still something we got to get a better handle on, but we wanted to put this in here because it would be something that we'd have to initiate and manage.
Can we mark that would be funding from an outside source, non-tax funded?
I think all the projects in here, and it's kind of alluded to in the introduction, funding sources are from a variety of places, whether they be privately raised dollars, borough general fund money, liquid fuels, some other source, grants. So we haven't in this generation of the CIP, although I think we should do that in years ahead, identified possible funding sources. But I think it's worth emphasizing that all of these projects might be a combination of funding from different sources, including in some cases fundraising from nonprofit organizations that have an investment in public infrastructure.
Dave, I think that would be a good idea in the next iteration, so that we know, the proportional amounts that are coming from different funding sources. I'd like to see that too.
Agreed. I can put in the narrative on there if that would be useful for this before it gets published, that other funding sources will be considered as part of that stage restroom.
Will be required.
It's a planning document.
I understand, but it's a little bit like saying it's a good resource, that's fine, except for when we see itemized days of work on the water budget for bathroom repairs and upgrades, that we're like wondering how the water authority ended up being the maintenance facility for the park's restrooms.
Well,
I mean, I'm not sure our water authority customers in, Benner and Spring Township necessarily know that they're doing bathroom restorations in Bellefonte parks.
I mean, that's certainly a comment well taken. I would say that council should have eyes wide open going into this, and I think, as President Johnson put in the meeting, that the commitment, the approval of the stage to move forward is tantamount to a commitment to having restrooms constructed within that 500 feet radius of the facility within 5 years. If you don't, the certificate of occupancy for the stage is revoked, and while you would still have a stage there, you wouldn't be legally able to make use of it. So I definitely think that commitment is made. I think with it, a commitment that it will be maintained, whether it be by the borough or a nonprofit or some combination of the two in perpetuity, is another reasonable expectation for having that, that stage design move forward or having that contract be awarded. So, I mean, my job is to just call balls and strikes, and that's what the commitment is. Where the funding comes from, we'll certainly work through that as we get further down in the design. But I think it's absolutely true that there was an acknowledgement from council with the agreement to construct the stage that there would be some effort to make sure that those facilities get built. Otherwise, and this would be entirely your preference, really, is whether you would have facilities on that side of the park but for the construction of that stage or not, would be up to what you think is the need for that side of the park without that stage being there. Because, as President Johnson put it, we have a facility there. It's a big park. It's not uncommon to have a single facility serve a park of that size. There's no requirement that you have more than one. It's really just what you think is in the best interest of the park and its patrons.
But haven't we already made an agreement and signed off on having those bathrooms there on that side, which is what allowed the band shell committee to go ahead with the construction? They could not have gone ahead with it unless we had made that agreement. So I think we have to have the bathrooms one way or the other.
Right. I mean, I would say you made a social contract to put the facilities in. I mean, whether it's, because what's called out on the plan is still the Pelican as being within that radius. But there was, I think, pretty unanimous or reasonably unanimous consent from council that that's not an option you want to see come to fruition. So it was sort of included on the plan as kind of a placeholder to identify that there is a location that could potentially serve that need, but the understanding was that we would continue to evaluate where that facility should be situated and then find ways to either fundraise for it or to finance it in some other way. So I would say yes, but what actually happens is still up for discussion.
Okay. I will move on back to the 2029. I have in here for the universal play equipment. I believe that's handicap accessible play equipment for out at Governor's Park.
Both of these last two items are really just rough estimates at this point. So much of it depends on what would be involved in the scope, but that was, I think, where we thought was most reasonable as a placeholder for right now.
Okay, we'll move on to 2030. Once again, we have the annual budget for removal of dead trees. We have another zero turn at reaching the 20-year mark in 2030. We have the restoration of the horse trough in the sculpture garden area at Talleyrand. We have bike racks, various locations throughout the borough and park. We have the Talleyrand Missoula trailer connection construction. That money is in there for that, pending that it moves forward. 2031, once again, we have the annual budget for tree work. We have replacement of park benches throughout the borough. And then we have the stormwater improvements within Talleyrand Park, I believe around the gazebo area.
Around the gazebo area. Yeah, we get some ponding over there. Matt's already talked about what may or may not be lurking beneath the surface there. So it's a tail end CIP item, may not be something that gets included in that program year depending on what the need is, but it's hard to even predict what that cost will be, just kind of flagging it for future discussion.
Just a thought. Is this in the area where the ice rink has been going in, and maybe is that what's causing part of the issue there?
No, that issue was there prior to the ice rink. I mean, yes, unfortunately, that low spot's been there probably for some time now.
Yes, Matt, for this entire 5-year proposal for the Parks Department, there's absolutely nothing about the decking replacement on the suspension bridge. And we had estimates earlier this year for a timber replacement of about $30,000 or swap to an FRP walking surface on the bridge for an additional $48,000. So for less than $80,000, we could fix the bridge and make it safe for everybody to walk on. And that is nowhere in the 5-year plan.
Go ahead.
It's a good catch, and perhaps it should be included. What the current status of that project is we're waiting on confirmation from DCNR that the Heritage Lumber Foundation is applying for funding to do the deck material. Probably going to be 2027. I don't think we'll have funding secured. Certainly won't have funding secured for this year. We hope to know for sure in the fall what that might look like. But it's a 2027 item and probably should be put in there as well. We'll make that note.
Matt, the two pieces of equipment, the zero-turn mower, is that those are two different mowers that are going to be purchased?
Correct. That's two different mowers. Yeah, they're a few years apart.
And how many of those do we have in the?
I think currently we have 5 or 6 of those.
Okay.
Any further questions? Guess that's about it.
We're nearly out of time here. So
All that we left undiscussed is the sewer and water items, which are Borough Authority budgetary items, and are going to be presented to them tomorrow for their review and consideration. But if council had any comments on anything on either of those, if there's time, we could bring those comments forward. Otherwise, that's all we had, and appreciate all your feedback and input.
So just for concrete purposes, the one amendment we're going to be making is the suspension bridge in the main session? Or are we doing any other things? That one I clearly heard as a definite, but other than that, I wasn't sure.
It is permissible to amend the CIP in consideration of adoption during the regular meeting. All that I have noted is the comment you made, so pending any other changes that council wants to make, that's the note that I made. And as we get into that, toward that discussion item, I'll get an answer to what that exact dollar is, number is for the bridge deck replacement, or perhaps Ms. Cleaton, you had it at for the deck replacement, you were reading a number off.
I have the printout from I think it was the
From
February
the study that was
meeting.
done. Okay, great.
okay, well, I'll look for an adjournment of the work session.
So moved.
I'll second.
Thank you. We're adjourned. Good evening. Bellefonte Borough Council business meeting. It's Monday, August 3rd. First of all, we'd like to call the meeting to order and have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Clayton, could we have a roll call, please?
Ms. Clayton, here. Ms. Dan.
Here.
Mr. Eaton.
Here.
Mr. Johnson.
Present.
Ms. McKean is excused. Mr. Kelly. Here. Ms. Tosti-Vasey.
I'm here.
Ms. Wilson.
Present.
And Mayor Johnson is excused.
Just a note, with the mayor out, I assume his responsibilities, so therefore I am ineligible to vote this evening. Additions to the council meeting agenda. In accordance with Act 65 of 2021, if a matter is not on the agenda, council cannot take official action on it with some expectations. The council can act on matters relating to potential or real emergencies. Council may add a matter of agency business to its agenda through a majority vote. The council should state the reason why the action item is being added to the agenda. Is there any council member that wishes to add an item to tonight's agenda?
Would this be where we have the motion to add a special meeting in the middle of this month?
I'm gonna ask our manager.
No, Ms. Doherty and I looked into Act 65, and you can take the action to, later under that action item to table and schedule the new meeting and still be okay.
And that's what our plan is for this evening. Thank you, Joanne. Public comment. Borough Council intends to take public comment related to the motion that is on the floor after it has been duly made and seconded. The order of comments will be public comment and then council comment, including proposed amendments by council members. If amendments are proposed to the original motion, the public will then only comment on the amendment or amendments before final votes are taken. You must be a Bellefonte resident, a nonprofit representative, a business owner, or an official representative of another governmental agency. Speakers shall identify themselves by name and street, municipality, if outside of the Borough of Bellefonte. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Is there any public oral? That's just an explanation. So right now, next item is South Ward vacancy. Yes. Okay. If it's an agenda item, yeah.
It's on the agenda under written communications is the first item.
Yes. Sure. You come on up. Come on up, Bobby. Come on up, Doug. Turn the microphone on there, please.
We're Doug and Bobby Barnett, and we live on Woodland Drive. We're here to thank Bellefonte Borough for placing the traffic light at Zion and Parkview Boulevard. It's exciting. Today it went off flash and it's working. March of 2022, Doug and I came to the Bellefonte Borough meeting about the intersection being difficult to navigate. We were one of several groups over the years to ask for a possible traffic light to increase safety to the area. We attended many meetings and went door to door with a petition with over 200 signatures from local neighbors and to request a traffic light for the intersection. Bellefonte Borough had a traffic audit, then was determined that the intersection warranted a traffic light. It's a reality today. Thank you, Bellefonte Borough, for all your hard work in making this a priority. I'm sure there's a ton of work and money coordinating with the state, school officials, contractors, and other agencies to make this happen. This light is state-of-the-art. It's very cool. It has motion sensors to monitor incoming traffic to move it along. It will coordinate with the elementary school light, and it also has sensors for emergency vehicles to have priority, and it will change to a green light for them when they approach. I'm sure it has many other features that I don't know about. Maybe they'll make coffee or something, I don't know. I truly believe that our neighborhood will be safer due to this light. Zion and Bishop Streets are getting busier and busier. The new elementary school, Mount Nittany Medical Outpatient Office is coming in a few years. New stores at the old Rite Aid building will make it even busier. Residents in Parkview area will feel confident and safe now to use the intersection to get out with that light. This will also decrease traffic, I think, at High and School Street intersection where many children cross going to school. It's a great example how our citizens and Bellefonte Borough work together to make our hometown Bellefonte safer. Thank you for all involved.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Yes.
Thank you. We really appreciate it, guys.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So don't go away yet. We have a letter here for you. On behalf of Bellefonte Borough Council, I'm writing this letter to express our sincere appreciation for your advocacy and effort that led to this construction of the traffic signal at Parkview Boulevard and Zion Road. As a council member, I understand that the journey to completing public improvements like this can be long and difficult. Your continued pursuit of this signalized intersection is evident that big change can and often does come from grassroots efforts led by dedicated citizens like yourselves who are committed to overcoming any obstacle to make the community a safer and better place. Once again, thank you for your dedication to improving the quality of life of the Bellefonte Borough community. Sincerely, Bellefonte Borough, signed by myself, Council President, and we'll make sure that you get a copy of this letter.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you very much. We appreciate all you guys did for the light.
Thank you for everything you do otherwise, too.
The borough does a lot, and we appreciate it with fire and EMS also. We do appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Good. Yeah. Thank you guys for coming in. Any other public comments? No. We'll move on. Mr. Pabolka, do you want to take the communications written, please?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
So in case you're not aware, there's a new signal at Parkview Boulevard and Zion Road, now fully operational. As was noted just prior, it's effective today. Motorists are continued to be encouraged to use caution as drivers become accustomed to the new traffic pattern. On council vacancy for the West Ward, council is accepting letters of interest and resumes from individuals interested in filling the vacant West Ward council seat. Letters of interest and resumes may be submitted to Alyssa Doherty by email or delivered to the Borough Administrative Office. Submissions will be accepted beginning today, August 3rd, through September 3rd at the end of day, 4:30 p.m. On the Bellefonte Arts and Crafts Fair road closures, council reminds residents and visitors that temporary road closures and parking restrictions will be in effect for the 2026 Bellefonte Arts and Crafts Fair from 5:30 p.m. on Thursday, August 6th through 9 p.m. on Saturday, August 8th. High Street between Allegheny Street and Water Street, to Water Street, Allegheny Street between Bishop and Lynn Street, Howard Street from Allegheny Street to the rear of the United States Post Office, and the West Municipal Parking Lot will be closed to accommodate this event. Residents are encouraged to plan ahead, use alternate routes, and observe all posted parking restrictions and detour signage.
I have a question on that one. Will the West Howard Street between Allegheny and North Spring Street also be closed? I don't see it listed here, but it has been closed for this event in the past.
Chief, do you want to take that one?
No, it will not be. Not this year.
Bellefonte Borough National Night Out. The Bellefonte Police Department will host a National Night Out on Tuesday, August 4th, from 5 to 8 p.m., right here at Talleyrand Park in the waterfront area. This is a free community event and will feature food, music, activities, and opportunities for residents to connect with local law enforcement and other community organizations. So all are encouraged to attend that event. And a reminder, at least for now, council meeting is canceled for the second meeting in August, so the next scheduled Borough Council meeting is slated for Tuesday, September 8th.
Could I make a motion to postpone the South Ward vacancy that we were supposed to do this evening to a special meeting on Monday, August 17th at 7:30 p.m. and reopen the application for the South Ward until noon on Friday, August 14th? And the reason I'm doing this is because applicants need to be present at the meeting for an interview prior to the vote, and we don't have any of those here this evening. So I'm making that motion.
Is there a second to that motion?
I will second it.
Is there discussion on the motion?
Did we have prior knowledge that this was going to happen?
We knew about it Saturday morning.
Okay, thank you.
And Joanne, when are you proposing this meeting?
Monday, August 17th, which would have been our regular meeting date that we had canceled, and it will be at 7:30.
Let me rephrase your motion, if you don't mind, what I'm reading. The suggested motion that Bellefonte Borough Council schedule a special meeting on Monday, August 17th, 2026 at 7:30 p.m. in council chambers for the purpose of conducting applicant presentations and considering the appointment to the vacant South Ward council seat. Council further directs the applications for the South Ward vacancy will continue to be accepted until 4:30 p.m. on Thursday, until Thursday, August 13th, 2026, and authorizes borough staff to advertise the special meeting, provide all required public notice, and solicit applications in accordance with the Pennsylvania Sunshine Act. That's the motion on the floor.
Yes, that's what I said.
Okay. It was hard for me to hear it, but that's okay. Is there any more discussion on this motion? Would you like a voice vote or a roll call vote? Roll call, please.
Ms. Cleaton, yes. Ms. Dan?
Yes.
Mr. Eaton?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Toski-Vasey?
Yes.
And Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. The motion carried. So to go back to Mr. Bolka's announcement about the meeting schedule, the next meeting will be Monday, August 17th at 7:30 p.m. in council chambers.
Mr. President, will this be a full meeting then, or will it just be for this?
To the best of my knowledge, it's going to be a application interview only meeting.
Thank you.
Question.
Yes.
In the agenda, it said that other council meetings there would be no other council meetings between now and September 8th. Does that mean all our committee meetings and such will also be?
All of the what?
The committee meetings.
The committee schedules are still
right.
As committee schedules
Correct.
are still up.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay.
Has no effect on committee meetings.
Pardon me?
No effect on committee meetings.
Okay. Okie doke.
So where are we at? We're now at the consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda are considered routine and will be acted upon by a single motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless members of the council request specific items to be removed for separate action. Is there any item that a council member would like to remove?
Yes,
Oh,
the budget versus
okay.
actual summary.
I guess,
I can make that motion. We do the motion first, and then
Okay.
with the second, then we can do that. Is that correct?
to a motion to accept all of them? I thought she was asking to pull one out.
That's fine.
Wrong?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So you wanted to pull one item?
Yeah, and I don't know if it really needs to be pulled for a separate vote. It's a request for the administrative office.
Which one?
The budget versus actual summary,
The draft one?
the June 2026 budget versus actual
Okay.
summary.
Yeah, pull that one for now?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other council members want to pull anything from the consent agenda? Okay, I'm looking for a motion to consider all the other items on the consent agenda without approving the budget versus actual summary for June 26th.
I'll make that motion.
Thank
Eaton.
you. Second.
Second, Dan?
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, Joanne?
Okay, on the, when I looked over the budget versus actual summary, there's one column, is the actual numbers for 2025. They are all missing. I'm not sure why, but I know that the audit is completely done. I think they should be there.
I noticed that as well. I didn't know why, but
So I don't know if should we table this until we get that and come back next time, or just leave it as it is and have it updated for the next.
I'm okay to leave it until next time. I'm going to ask Mr. Perbolka. It's on the, what page is that, Deb, you're looking at? The 2025 is missing that column.
It's just the budget
It's
versus
just the
actual
budget
summary.
versus actual
Is that the one
summary.
you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Do you know the page number?
Well, it's just pages 1 and 2. This is a two-page
Page 1
document.
and 2, David.
And I think those numbers have actually been blank up to date this year.
We were told that until the audit was complete, that they would be, but then they would be updated to have a complete report after that. And now that the audit's complete, I'd like to see them.
But that is for June, so maybe they.
Did you find it?
No,
Well, it's a whole,
Say the page number, right over there, page 2. Page 2, David.
yeah, I did too.
it's the same,
Oh, okay, I see. That's all I needed
Yeah,
to see. It
that's
was
it.
just the table you're referring
Yeah, the
to.
table.
I agree with Joanne. We should, when those numbers are available, following the audit, the acceptance of the audit, we should see them on the budget sheets in the summary. So.
Yes, I think that's correct. It's just a delay in entering the data based on when the audit was approved. So we can bring this back to council for approval at the next meeting, well, the meeting in September. Good catch.
Is that reasonable, Joanne?
Yep, so
Okay.
do I need to make a motion to table until September?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm doing that right now.
Okay. Second to that motion?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
I can't vote. Okay. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Next item, reports. Gina, do you have a report? Okay.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Good evening, Council. There were several hard projects, so I just wanted to be here to answer any questions that might come up. President Johnson, do you want me to read through the projects that as I have them on the agenda?
Sure, you can skim through them.
Okay. So there's 218 North Spring Street, which is a replacement of windows, and I'll try to abbreviate here. 349 East Curtin Street, which is the replacement of an existing front porch and some modifications to that front porch design. 125 East High Street is a repair and replacement of brick masonry and repointing of the entire building, and I added some additional information about materials there that are part of the approval that HARB recommends. 130 East Lynn Street, which is the replacement of various roof sections on the house. And then 135 West Logan Street. This was the property on Logan Street that had the fire, so there is a major renovation following that fire damage, and everything will be replaced in kind. And that particular property doesn't have historical materials on it currently, so it'll just be replaced with the materials that it did have. So happy to answer specific questions. I don't know how you want to approve these, if all at once or individually, but
I'll make a motion to approve all 5 projects.
I would second that, Joanne.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item.
I have a question for Regina before we move on.
Okay.
Gina noted at the end of the report that the HARB discussed concerns regarding historically themed signage and plaques containing inaccurate or misleading information. HARB then recommended that council should consider establishing a review process or regulatory framework for proposed historic signage to help ensure the accuracy of historical information and protect the integrity of Bellefonte's historic resources. How do we want to handle it? If it's Gina or it's council who should be answering that question?
I'm just the messenger. That was a test to see if you read my report. You aced it, Joanne. Yeah, there was a recommendation from the HARB board to seek seek advice from council on how to handle historic signage and information in the borough, because in the past and currently, depending on whose opinion you ask, there is information out there that is not historically accurate. HARB doesn't review the historical accuracy of content for signage. It only looks at the aesthetics, the materials involved with the sign itself. So exactly what I said here in my memo, HARB was just looking for some direction. Council can maybe think about it. I don't think they're looking for an answer this evening. It was just something that they had asked me to ask you.
I don't know the answer to that question. Does any other council member have a thought on that question?
Good.
What I heard at the meeting is that, and I think Phil Ruth could give us a better handle on it if we could ask him to the next meeting to have him explain what kind of setups you can handle to handle these types of questions, because he's got the background and knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be a good idea to invite him to our September meeting to ask him to help us out with this.
Dave, do you have any thoughts on that?
I wasn't there at the HARB's discussion. I just would ask who the right subject matter expert would be to weigh in on the accuracy of the content of signage in the borough. I don't think, as Gina said, it would be a staff person that has that wisdom and expertise right now. So I guess the question becomes, who do you trust to be able to provide that input? Because it's always a slippery slope, if you will, when you get into arbitrating content of signage for a lot of reasons. Not only could you potentially run into First Amendment issues, but you may have different groups that dispute different events as recounted in the history, and I could just see it becoming a little bit of a third rail for the borough to get too involved in. Doesn't mean it can't be done. I have a lot of the same questions that you have about how would we do it, who would be the one to approach it. So I like I said, not having been there for the HARB's discussion, I'm not exactly sure what they were looking for, what they were alleging was inaccurate, but I would want to know what the right way to approach it would be to have the least potential controversy as a result.
So what I do remember Phil saying is something about a historic commission that does reviews and does actually literal detailed research. It's not just one person that would do it, but he had, like I said, I don't know enough detail about that to say one way or the other, so that's why I was suggesting he come in and tell us what he was talking about.
We can do that, invite him in. John, do you have?
I'm just sort of, can you give us an example of what issue brought this up? I mean, what was the concern?
This particular concern came from administrative approval of the Bellefonte Art Museum. They have some signage dedicating the Lynn House to being a stop along the Underground Railroad, but there is some differing opinions about whether that is accurate or not. So that is what initiated the conversation, to then a broader conversation of how we have some tablets around town that may or may not have information. But as Mr. Provolka stated, I mean, you have different groups working from different historic accounts. So I don't think that there's any intentional or malicious intent with creating the historic information on these signs, but it was mentioned by Harb, could there be a review process for the information? And just, again, nobody has really an answer to that, but.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I thought the art museum came to some sort of agreement with the researchers, but maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, I mean, really, I wouldn't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole.
I'm sorry.
I wouldn't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole as counsel.
Yeah, what I'm for me, just to clarify what you said, is there's some folks thinking that the accuracy of the sign isn't accurate, and others think that it is. And how do we decide what is and what isn't accurate? And if this comes up again, there should be some review board that says, well, this sign is accurate, this one isn't. That's a little bit probably beyond what council needs to do, or what we should be doing as council members.
That can be information I take back to the Harb board, as you know.
Yeah. I mean, that's sort of what their job is, to find. That's why we have them, and they make recommendations to council. But that's just my thought. Others of council may have opinions as well.
I mean, yeah. I'm going to agree with you, Doug. Let Harb put together a committee of trusted people that they want to confer with, because if we end up in a debate over historic details, then it can spin out of control pretty quickly. I mean, just, yeah, I'd prefer not to touch it.
So are you saying that we won't invite Phil just to tell him, so that he can explain what he was thinking of?
I'm sorry, Joanne,
I said, so do we not invite Phil in September?
What I'm hearing just from John and I is that there hasn't been other opines to what do other council members think?
I'll weigh in on that. I agree with you. I think that's well beyond our scope of what we are to do. And I can only speak for myself. It is not my area of expertise. And I think with history, people do have different opinions of the very same things that have happened. And I think as a council, I would not want to go there.
And could I just mention that the Center County Historic Museum that's 2 blocks away from here has pretty detailed history on pretty much every building in town, and would be a great resource if somebody wanted to research the history of a building and what may or may not have occurred there.
May I also just add, for what it's worth, when applicants, it doesn't happen too often, but it's happened a handful of times, I guess, in the 5.5 years, when applicants do come for signage that has historical information, I recommend to them to reach out to the Center County Library Historical Museum, or to an individual like Phil Ruth, who knows a lot about Bellefonte history. Again, you know, I can't require them to do that, but just as a courtesy, whenever they're submitting historical information, you know, just in a conversation, you know, have you looked into the history of this information? So I try and get on the front end of that in that conversation when applications are submitted. And then beyond that, they do ultimately kind of choose what information goes on there, and then it is what it is. So
yeah, I mean, Joanne, I don't think we don't want to talk to it's not a matter that we don't want to talk to them. It's just that I don't want to be the arbiter trying to figure out who's giving the best input on a discussion of whether or not something happened in a given building.
I understand that. I think the only reason I would like him to come to council is so that he can give the background of what he's talking about from his area of expertise. Whether we do anything with it after that, it's more of an informational sort of for us and for the community.
Sure. If he wants to come in for 5 minutes, that's fine. For an oral comment. Claudia, did you want to? John?
Yeah, I'd like to have Phil come in and maybe speak for more than 5 minutes, but I'd appreciate that. I do agree that I think that that's not a board, a council issue. I think maybe putting it back into Harb's lap would be appropriate.
Well, just to maybe just clarify what role we as a public agency have over the content of a sign is very little. So you really don't, nor does a committee of the board or a historic review board have any purview over what the content is of a privately constructed sign. If it's a public sign, of course, that's a very different story, but without knowing specifically about what signs Mr. Ruth or his colleagues are taking issue with, I can't say one way or the other, but I would say it's not the it's not the jurisdiction of the Borough Council or the Harb to tell a private citizen what he or she can and can't say on a sign they put on their own property, except, of course, if it meets a very narrow set of exceptions. That's a First Amendment protection that makes anything you're trying to do here a little bit of a difficult row. What we can do, as I think has been said here, is be a conduit where we might help to direct applicants either with the Harb or who are otherwise seeking advice to the proper channels that may have the historical documents available to validate some of the content they're trying to put on their signs. That's I think a service we certainly could provide, with little lift on the part of staff or any committee. So it's really kind of up to you how you want to proceed. But I would just advise caution on establishing a committee or a subcommittee that's going to be tasked with reviewing the content of historical signage in the borough.
That's kind of where I think all of us are at, but it would be nice to have a little bit of education for us and for the community.
We can put them on the work session for, I don't think we need 30 minutes, but 15 maybe, depending on how full our work session will be. So I guess the direction is council or Harb's on their own on this one for now. If you want to pass that.
I'll reach out to Mr. Ruth and let him know of his invitation for the work session, or I can work with staff on that, and
Okay.
we can organize that. So
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Council, for the discussion. We'll move on now to current and old business. This is consider approval of lease agreement with New Singular Wireless. The motion is that Borough Council approves the lease agreement between the Borough of Bellefonte, the Bellefonte Borough Authority, and New Singular Wireless PCS LLC, AT&T, for the communications antenna located at 254 Transfer Road, and to authorize the Borough Council President and Secretary to execute the agreement and any related documents on behalf of the Borough. So I'm looking for a motion and a second.
I'll make that motion.
Thank
Dan.
you, Barb. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Thank you, John. Discussion? Yes?
Yes, I have
Deb.
a question. The terms of this lease agreement is that it starts April 1st of 2028, and it already states what the rent is going to be. Why are we locking into a rental amount that's 20 months in the future?
So just maybe to answer that with a brief background on this, primarily this is an arrangement between the Borough Authority and New Singular as the lessor. It's existed since about 2007. So since its initial execution, there have been about 4 amendments. This would have been the 5th, but it was the guidance from the authority's solicitor that we may want to just, rather than Swiss cheesing the original agreement, just begin and re-ratify it. So the current agreement does not expire until 2028. Singular has been making a nationwide push to execute renewals for all of their lease agreements for their co-located wireless facilities well in advance of their renewal date. So we've been getting a lot of pressure, I guess, on the periphery from New Singular and the authority to adopt it. The reason Borough Council's been asked to co-execute this lease agreement is because there is a non-exclusive lease agreement between the Borough and the Borough Authority, and it was unclear to the solicitor and the council representing Singular who should really be signatory to this agreement, so the decision was made to just have all parties endorse it. The question about the lease payments is basically, and this is not a satisfying answer, I understand it, but New Singular has said this is what we are offering to all of our renewals, and it's kind of a take it or leave it proposition. The rent is actually a reduced monthly rent from what it was in the years expiring in 2028. We are currently receiving about $2,928 per month. We would reduce that to $2,346. It's a reduction in revenue. That's, of course, not ideal, and it's not what we would like to see with these agreements. However, in this case, there's really no labor or effort or initiative required by the authority at all. It's really just the allowance for that antenna to locate there. So we're recommending that you approve it, understanding the terms aren't necessarily as favorable as we might want them to be, but it's revenue for the authority, and it's helpful for helping them get some of their capital projects done.
Yes, go ahead.
I have a different question. And there's a paragraph on page 16, on paragraph 16 on page 10 regarding subleasing. It states that Singular can sublease their portion of the tower without our consent, and that they will be then relieved of all, quote, future performances, liabilities, and obligations. My question is, who then continues paying for the lease to us since a sublease continues use of the property? There's nothing in this contract that indicates who the continuing contract or procedures to fund the rental with the borough or the water authority for the use of this property should New Singular Wireless sublease during the rental period, when they have been relieved of all responsibility.
The obligation would extend to any successors or assigns of the leasee. So in this case, if Singular were to sublet that facility to another operator or purveyor, they would then pick up the obligations.
Should that not be in the contract? Because it's not right now.
I believe it is here. So the bind and benefit, this is on page 13 of the agreement. The terms and conditions contained in this agreement will run with the property and bind and inure to the benefit of the parties, their respective heirs, executors, administrators, successors, and assigns.
Doesn't make much sense to me.
We did have our solicitor review this with Mr. Pabolka and the other solicitor. It was Mr. Schrack and
Mr. Schrack, correct?
Yeah.
And his associate, McQuaid Blasco. But the answer is yes. It would run with any subleasing of that benefit.
Thank you, David, for pointing that out. My eyes got blurry reading that contract. It was pretty long. But so I'm looking, if there isn't any other comment, I'm looking for a vote on this, and we can do it by voice vote or by roll call.
Roll call, please.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Cleaton, no. Ms. Dan?
No.
Mr. Eaton?
Yep. Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yeah.
Ms. Tosti-Vasey?
No.
And Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Doug, you're up. It's 3-3.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Next item. Award for RFP, the HUD Community Project Funds Grant Administration Services. The suggestion motion is that Borough Council award the request for proposal for HUD Community Projects Fund Grant Administrator Services to Delta Development Group Incorporated and authorize the Borough Manager to negotiate and execute a professional services agreement subject to review and approval by the Borough Solicitor. Do I have a motion and a second?
I'll make that motion. Dan?
Thank you. Second?
I'll second, Eaton.
Thank you, John. Discussion? Yes, yes.
Yeah. For what it's worth, I will be voting no for this motion, even though the Delta did give us the lowest bid. The quality of their work, the last time we hired them as a consultant, was below par, and unless there is some way to hold their feet to the fire, I'm not comfortable giving them the contract.
What was the previous project?
It was a stamp project where we went back and forth for 4 to 6 months, where the report they gave us was a cut and paste, and it mentioned another borough instead of ours, and the stuff did not fit what was going on here in the borough.
It was DCED's Strategic Management Planning Program. It's a state-funded kind of strategic plan engagement that's designed to help municipalities avoid financial distress. Sorry, just wanted to elaborate on that.
Joanne, how long ago was that?
4 years ago, I think it was right as you were coming on to
I was going to
council.
say it was before that. Thank you.
I want to say that I had a lot of reservations. I did I did go with the recommendation of Delta, but I was much more impressed with the mapping out of the strategic steps with the other two organizations, and I feel that what they're asking is not enough money. You know, I don't always go with a low bid because I think that I just have some reservations that for what we might need, that what they're proposing is not going to be sufficient. But I would like to ask Dave, because I did write some comments when I sent my priority and voicing some concerns. And so if you would explain what they, you know, you had said to me that that because they had done work before, they know the borough, and you know that came into play with the administrative recommendation. So if you could explain a little bit more, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. So as was indicated, we received 3 proposals to the request for proposals that we let for grant administration for this community projects fund. I was not here and I'm not entirely familiar with the development of the STAMP program and where there might have been deficiencies there with that performance, but the federal congressionally directed spending programs like CPF, this is the funding that we've received, is really part and parcel with the main focus of Delta development. This is really what they do. They have familiarity with this project. They were the authors of the grant application submitted by Bellefonte Borough on behalf of Waterfront Associates. This is a public improvement, so it's a public asset. The construction of Dunlop Street, the grant award's $1.55 million. It is to be done in conjunction with the development of the waterfront project. The reason I mention that is because the waterfront development project was also the recipient of 2 other grant awards, both of which are being administered by Delta Development. One is a Redevelopment Assistance Capital Program, or RACP grant, and the other one is a PennDOT Multimodal Transportation Fund grant. The PennDOT MTF grant is for the promenade and streetscape amenities. The RACP grant is for the garage. So there's some integration of different project phases that can be, in my opinion, and the opinion of, I think, the Finance Committee who reviewed this, that can be you know, a little bit smoother by having one grant administrator handle all of these, you know, different projects, making sure that the grant guidelines are being adhered to, that the design and scope is being carried out in accordance with the grant proposals. So while I was, as was pointed out by council members, impressed by some of the responses from the other 2 vendors, staff believes that Delta has an advantage because of their involvement and familiarity with the project to date and their integration with the other privately funded or privately managed phases of the waterfront development overall. That coupled with their pricing, which is fairly, I think, common with what their retainer is for similar services for our size of municipality. So wasn't a surprise to me that they were as low as they were, again, because this is kind of the niche of this firm. We'll have to make sure that they meet what they laid out in their scope and adhere to their price that they've quoted if council authorizes the engagement this evening.
Yeah, I was concerned when I saw the low price. You know, in my previous experience, if you have bidders bidding on a project and one of them's way out of bounds on the low side, it may not be the good choice. But so I didn't have enough background to look at the proposals and to say that this was obviously deficient. I would say that we recently, the Valentine Hill work, we also ended up in the situation of going with the lowest bidder, and we had concerns, and so far things have worked out, but we realized that we had to be extremely diligent and make sure that everything was following on schedule and within budget. So, yeah, I wish I knew more, but I share your concern, Joanne, that when the price looks awfully good, and yes, I was not impressed by the stamp project, or by the stamp product. But I still had to say the recommendation from staff looked reasonable, so I voted for it. So.
Other comments? This is in our packet, so it's public information. Anybody can see it. But just for those who may be viewing this, the Delta Group is $100,000 less than the other two proposals. So, but based on our staff and our finance committee's review, I'm willing to take the risk because of how important this project is to get moving for the Borough of Bellefonte.
And the cost of this engagement will be funded out of the grant proceeds.
Any other comments? We're ready for a vote. You want to do a roll call vote, please?
Yes, please.
Ms. Clayton? Yes. Ms. Dan?
Yes.
Mr. Eaton?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly? Yes. Ms. Tosti-Vasey? And Ms. Wilson?
Yes, with reservations.
It's 5-1, passes.
Thank you. We'll move on to the next item. Adoption of the 2027 through 2031 Capital Improvement Program. Suggest your motion that Borough Council adopt resolution number 2026-4 approving the Bellefonte Borough 2027 through 2031 Capital Improvement Program as presented and revised through August 1st, 2026, with any amendments approved by Council. Is there a motion for that?
So moved, Tosti-Vasey.
Thank you, Joanne.
Second, Dan.
Thank you, Barb. Discussion? Roll call vote, please, Deb.
Wait a minute.
Sorry, I apologize.
We have the motion that we had talked about in the work session that Deb had.
What about the suspension bridge?
The suspension bridge.
I understand that, but the motion is as presented, revised with any amendments approved by council.
But I think we need to mention that here because it isn't in the printed report.
Sure. The discussion in the work session that preceded this regular meeting was to add into the Parks and Recreation section of the Capital Improvement Program for 2027 an appropriation of $80,000 to finance the restoration of the deck material on the suspension bridge that would be funded by a DCNR, Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, Heritage Lumber Foundation grant.
So are you looking to amend the motion? Is that, or add this as an amendment?
Yes.
Is there a second to that amendment motion?
Can it be a friendly amendment?
Yes, it can. You just have to have a
It can be
second.
a friendly motion?
And then we just,
Okay.
I'll second that. Wilson.
Okay, thank you.
and then
we'll
I
go-
say it's okay, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
Claudia says it's okay, then it makes a single motion. We don't have to vote twice.
Thank you. Roll call, please, Deb.
Doug, I had...
Oh, I'm sorry, Barb.
That's okay. I'm
Apologize.
still trying to think how I want to word this. We can make amendments to this now, is that correct? Okay. My amendments to this, after much thought, this railroad spur trail took off in what I thought was a really expansive way that I was not expecting. And I am not comfortable with spending, I don't know, 1.2, 1.3, $1.45 million, or even thinking about that. I think there are many other things that need that amount of money. So I would ask if we could remove the Talleyrand to Missoula Connector Trail, both under 2028 and 2030.
So that's your motion?
That is my motion.
Is there a second to Barb's motion? As acting mayor, am I allowed to second it, or am I? Okay.
No.
Is there a second to Barb's motion?
I will second it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie.
Any further discussion on the amendment motion? If not, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Cleaton, yes. Ms. Dan?
Yes.
Mr. Eaton?
This is to delete.
This is to remove the Missoula Park Railroad spur.
But
Okay, I'll agree to it.
is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Kelly?
Is this then to be addressed at a later time? It's just removed.
This is to be removed from this
from the CIP. Okay.
It doesn't say that at some point it can't come up again.
Correct.
I just feel very strongly that I would rather it not be in here.
Or Zach, this sort of CIP is sort of like a master plan.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Our toes aren't held to the fire that everything happens in this, but it's a direction that. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, is it me? I'll say yeah then. Yes.
Yes. All right, thank you. Ms. Tassi-Vasey?
No.
And Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
That's 5-1, it passes.
Thank you. Thank you, Barb. Okay, we'll move on.
So I have a question for moving to the committee meeting. Since this has been removed from the capital improvement, do we not review the feasibility study at the end of this month?
I would still present the study that was done by Stahl Schaefer to council for your acceptance and to the committee, only because that study was authorized to proceed, and I feel you should see the finished product, and it doesn't necessarily obligate to pursuing it or including it in the CIP or in any budget, but just so you're aware of its findings and that you've accepted them. Gives me closure.
Okay, we've had one amendment pass, one amendment failed, and now we're going back to the main motion. So we can do a roll call on that one as well. Deb, please.
All right. Ms. Cleaton, yes. Ms. Dan?
Yes.
Mr. Eaton?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Tassi-Vasey?
Yes.
And Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, council. We'll move on now to new business. Consider approval of professional services agreement with Albright Institute for Nonprofit and Civic Administration. The suggestion motion that Borough Council authorize the Borough Manager to execute the professional services agreement with the Albright Institute for Nonprofit and Civic Administration to provide interim finance department support with an estimated cost not to exceed $10,000 with funding to be paid from the 2026 budget. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion, Cleaton.
I'll second, Dan.
Thank you. Discussion.
Yeah, I had a question that it says that they will assist with candidate recruitment. Can you elaborate?
Well, it is in there, but we wouldn't. I would think that I caught that same thing, and I waffled a little bit on whether we should strike it from the proposal or not. It wouldn't have any material effect on the cost because it's an hourly engagement. I would think if they are going to assist us at all with the recruitment of the replacement for the vacancy in the position, it would be more if a question arose that we wanted to have them weigh in on based on their expertise and background in government finance, or perhaps pointing us in a direction of where we might be able to effectively recruit a candidate. I would not involve them in any meaningful way in the recruitment of the successor for that position, but I kind of left it in there just in case there was some value in their expertise that they may bring to bear on that.
I agree with that. It was a little bit of a question, a concern.
Yes, definitely.
Other comments?
Yes, on the very first page under invoicing and compensation, I lost it here. Somewhere it says something about not to exceed $10,000 in 6 months, and then after that it says 6 weeks, somewhere in here. There's something about the rate of what the rate is per hour.
Oh, you mean?
It's $10,000 per 6 weeks. It says, I wrote it down, and
Right, and then earlier in that sentence, it says 6 months.
Yeah, so there's a
slight
I don't know what
discrepancy in
page it
time
is.
frame there.
Yeah, I see that there.
Not to interrupt, but we're talking a sum total of either 50 or 60 hours. At the labor rates quoted.
My question was this presented to the Finance Committee?
No, I never
It
heard
was
of
not?
this till now.
No.
I thought you told me it was, Deb.
We did talk about the
We
need,
discussed it,
but we
right.
did not see an agreement.
Well, I think there was a letter presented to us that we never got to in discussion at the meeting. The meeting ended at 5 o'clock because we had to go to the water and sewer budget meeting. So we never actually discussed the topic. It was in the package, but it was never discussed.
What I found, it's on the very last page of the document. The fees are in effect for 6 months, and then on the third bullet point, it says not to exceed $10,000 over 6 weeks. So that doesn't make any sense.
Right, the fees are, the hourly rate is valid for that 6-month duration. We're hoping to have somebody effectively recruited in that 6 weeks. We wouldn't allow the engagement to go over 10,000. We hope to be better than that, as Mr. Eaton pointed out. If you divide the 10,000 by the hourly rate of 165, because a majority of this would be for Ms. Susan Saylor. She's the one that's more local than Ms. Steigelman, who is the comparatively higher one. You're talking about 60 hours, just over 60 hours. So it's a stopgap measure. Right now, we have one person in the finance department who is handling all of the data entry, all of the finance administration for both the authority and for the borough proper. We really just need some additional temporary support to get us over the hump, because right now we've got no applications for our part-time position that we've had advertised in a variety of media over the last several months, couple of months anyway, since Victoria Groton, who was in that position. The Finance Committee talked about, or authorized anyway, the development of a job description to be presented to Borough Council to make that position from part-time to full-time, where we're optimistic we'll have more interest. But right now it's just a matter of the ship taking on water. We need some part-time bookkeeping support.
I don't recall authorizing that, because we never even discussed how, I mean, maybe I'm remembering this wrong, but I don't recall authorizing a full-time job description, because we never even discussed with the authority who was going to pay for this, what the impact was going to be.
Well, I mean, perhaps I'm recalling incorrectly. Regardless, we have a situation that we really need to get a hold of now because invoices are going, without getting paid timely, and we're starting to really feel the pressure of having one person in that department that we really need to have some additional support for. We feel that this is a good way to keep the ship afloat. We can budget it. It would be shared with the authority, which would allow us to share some of that obligation with our other interagency partners that participate in wastewater treatment. So we would like to share that cost. Otherwise, I would still recommend we engage this firm so that we can keep our invoices paid and our deposits, done in a timely manner. But we'll take direction from council and we'll do our best.
How did we come to this firm?
We evaluated 3 different firms, and there was another qualified firm, but they were based out of Georgia. This firm came to my attention because they had done some work for some of the center region municipalities and came highly recommended. They are reasonably local, so we can have some on-site support 1 day a week, which I think will be useful for us because we have limited staffing, so we don't have the capability to upload, scan in, and then transfer all of these digital files. So really it was a combination of pricing, which this was the most favorable that we received, and the proximity of the support as well as the competency of the firm that led to our recommendation.
Hi, Joanne. Joe and I both have. No, that's no. It was both of us. I totally support this. I think this is a great idea. This is a good way to help with our finance director and without the expense of hiring somebody right now. We know what it will cost. How many days per week do you think this person would end up working, and would it be part in-house and part at home?
It would be a kind of a hybrid arrangement. We would need at least 1 day a week. If we had a lot of invoices to process, it might go to as many as 2 days a week. I wouldn't think we need more. Ideally, we have to work through this with the firm if they're engaged this evening, but we might have them present 1 day and then remote the next week, and so we can keep our mileage reimbursements down to a minimum. But as I said, we really just have a volume of work, and scanning and transferring those files all digitally would be difficult to commit to. So having somebody on site at least 1 day every other week, I think would be really useful for us.
Okay, this wouldn't involve overnights?
No.
Okay, great.
She's based in Williamsport. So.
Excellent. I think this is a great idea, and I would totally support this.
Now my turn. On page 5 of 10, on paragraph 16, there's a statement that says public announcements that there are no publicity releases related to this agreement. The relationship between the parties or the services performed hereunder shall be issued by either party without the prior written consent of the other party. This sounds to me like an NDA or a non-disclosure act or amendment, and I'm wondering if it violates the Sunshine Act. The second question is, how might this affect our ability to advertise for a part-time or full-time finance assistant, if it does at all?
So I think the first question on public announcements is standard language of the college, Albright College. They're obligated to the same Sunshine Act and disclosure transparency provisions for the most part as we are as a public agency. The way I interpret that provision is just to note that we're not going to publicly to release any news press releases that indicate that we've retained this firm and vice versa, that they've secured us as a client without mutual without mutual consent. We would still be obligated to provide any records, any public records that are requested either through the Pennsylvania Right to Know law or that need to be advertised as part of the Pennsylvania Sunshine Act, even if this agreement is executed. The second question is really it doesn't. We're still continuing to advertise and market and try to find new ways to backfill that vacancy. This agreement, and there's an understanding by the proposed contractor that once we've secured that support and no longer are in need of their services, that this would terminate. So it should have no material effect on our recruitment efforts. We are also talking about maybe working with a local temp agency to maybe find somebody who can fit this mold, because there's a couple of parallel tracks here, and I know this is a little divergence from your question, but we've talked in the past about this position being part of the succession plan for the finance director, which is in part the reason why the qualifications for the part-time position are what they are, requiring some post-high school training and education in accounting and government finance. The truth is that that's just not become a viable candidate profile to recruit a part-time vacancy. We're going to continue to attempt to do so. I think in some ways we got pretty lucky with the candidate we had in that role. But part of the reason why I'm proposing that council consider making this a full-time position is because if you truly do want to recruit somebody with the skills, education, and qualifications necessary to succeed the director in this role when the current person retires, then we need to think about what those qualifications really need to look like and what we're willing to accept as an entry-level role versus what we want to develop that person to become in the future. So if it really is just a need for a bookkeeper to do some data entry and that's all we need and we're not concerned about succession planning, then that might drive how we work with temp agencies or whether this position stays part-time or full-time or we contract it out. But if it's a bigger strategy, then I think we have to have a broader conversation about what we expect, because the candidates just aren't out there.
So back to the first question then, is there something in there that we could add to that paragraph that says basically that we have the right to, through the right to know law or whatever, to ensure that we have transparency?
You can. I think that's in part covered by Section 22, which says the validity or construction of this agreement, as well as the rights and duties of the parties hereunder, shall be governed by the laws of the Commonwealth without regard to its choice of law provisions. So what that's basically saying is that any state statutes that supersede the contract provisions in any way will be adhered to, which I would interpret to include both the Sunshine Act and the Right to Know law.
So could we, I'd like to make an amendment to that 22 and saying, comma, including the Sunshine Act and the Right to Know law.
Joanne, I respectfully agree with Dave on that. I think that is inclusive of that.
I just like everybody to have knowledge of what we're talking about.
Is that something you made a motion?
Yes,
Is there
I
a
did.
second to Joanne's motion? There is no second, Joanne. The motion fails. My question, David, is some of this is coming out of authority budget money, so I think authority folks need to be aware of this as well. And you and I have had that discussion offline when we were doing the agenda. So, council approving this. What I'm not clear on is, or what I look at the hourly rate and I look at temporary service employees, and I understand your thought of, well, it depends on how council wants to move forward with the position. But to get this to get what backlog is you say exists, we could have taken care of this a month ago with temporary service, I think, to relieve some of that burden. I wasn't aware of it until this was presented to us, and then when we had a discussion, I thought you said this was approved by Finance Committee, Deb, at our agenda meeting, but now I'm hearing it wasn't even discussed at the Finance Committee.
I remember having at least some discussion about this.
About disagreement?
About getting temporary help in to fill in because Victoria left. Victoria was the part-time person helping Lori in the finance department. Mm-hmm. And part of Victoria's cost was covered by the water authority. You know, that whatever that arrangement is already kind of existed. So to have someone else filling in that gap, filling in those hours.
All I remember is receiving the job description and then the letter saying that because of the waterfront project and I think 2 other projects, there was going to be a lot of work for the finance director.
I think the finance director is already overloaded with responsibilities even before the waterfront project.
Right, but that was in the agenda package. We never got to that topic in the meeting.
Yeah.
I think, as Ms. Clayton points out, there was some discussion at the end of the meeting about getting some temporary support. You're correct. We did not have this agreement to present in time for that finance committee. Part of the urgency is that without a second meeting in August, we're now putting in, if we defer this, we're putting another month until, now I know the conversation tonight notwithstanding, but if we're not planning to have any other agenda items except to appoint the vacancy in the second meeting in August, well, the imperative still stands that we need to get some support. Realistically, even if the agreement was made, and again, you know, whether it will be or not is up to you all to discuss, to approve a full-time position, or even if we continue to recruit and are successful in the next month in recruiting a part-time position for this vacancy, we still have a lot of work that needs to get done. And really it's just about putting that fire out so that it allows us to continue to focus on the long-term needs of the department, the borough, and the authority. To President Johnson's point, we do have an agenda item. There's a good catch on the sharing of the cost. We have an agenda item on the authority's meeting tomorrow to consider their approval of this same engagement, because there would be, as there was for Victoria's position, a proposed cost share between the 2 agencies, and I would argue a third agency with Spring Benner Walker Joint Authority, who gets billed for a portion of our operational charges and administrative charges that relate to the wastewater treatment arm of the borough authority. So we have that up there for consideration tomorrow night for the authority board. I would request that even if the authority board does not approve it, that we still have this issue that needs to be resolved, and we would just cover it out of the general fund, and we would not have them doing any authority work. We'd find a way to parse that out.
I would caution you that transfer fund that goes to cover the staffing costs is not shared proportionally with Spring Benner Walker. That is bared solely by the Bellefonte Authority.
According to the finance director, a portion of Victoria Grattan's salary was invoiced to the Spring Benner Walker Joint Authority. I haven't validated that, but I asked her that this afternoon, and that was her response.
I would validate that because when we were asking for the apportionment of charges, we were told that the transfer to the general fund was not apportioned according to usage.
Well, it's a percentage. It's an estimated percentage of time spent between the authority and the borough. It's not an exact accounting for all of what that position was doing for one agency or the other, but it is a reasonably educated.
If you can show it on our budget sheets, we'll be happy to consider it.
Okay.
I have a question on that, which it has to do with the authority, I guess. Maybe the authority should just have their own finance director. Would that be helpful?
Maybe.
And that would save a lot of back and forth between the borough and the authority, and maybe that would be helpful for everyone.
I have a question that I've been waiting. I also thought immediately, why hadn't we just done some temporary, had some temporary help come in immediately? And was that considered? And that seems like it might be less expensive than this contract. I'm just...
Well, what the position is calling for, I do think we could explore a temp agency in filling, that gap. I don't know, I can't say for certain that it would be less expensive, but you would probably not have, if they do have a candidate that would qualify, which is a big if, for this kind of work. I mean, temp agencies are good for certain applications and not so good for others. And this one is probably an area that there would be some difficulty in finding a qualified temp to do. Yes, it's data entry and it can be trained, but there also has to be an element of understanding of government finances so that you can properly code things, that you can properly do the data entry so that when Lori receives it on her end, she can be reasonably confident when doing the journal entries and bank reconciliation, other things that are a part of her job as finance director, that she can rely on the staff that she reports to, that report to her, so that there's a certain degree of validity to the data that they've input. So I would not close the door to the possibility of a temp being able to do the work, but it's really just a function of timing at this point. Having that immediate need addressed that allows us to explore a temp to hire a part-time person or a full-time position if approved by council. That would be a more long-term solution. So it's, again, just kind of a stopgap to get us caught up and make sure that we don't fall really far behind. I mean, we are doing what we can do, and Lori's been working a lot of hours to keep things where they need to be, and there's been some supplemental support as we've been able to provide from others in the administrative office. But it's not possible to, it's not sustainable. It's really
what's my other question? So this is an agreement for 6 months?
Not to exceed the $10,000 in the engagement. The fees are valid for that duration, but the term is, I think, relatively open-ended depending on what our need is.
And do we have any likelihood of finding somebody within like 3 or 6 months?
Yes, I think so. I mean, it's difficult to say we're going to keep, pushing it. I think the wisdom in having a cap at this point is that if we are approaching that and we're still not at a point where we can find a long-term solution, this would come back to council to talk about a more strategic way to approach this. But I feel pretty good about, whether we make this a full-time position or we maintain it part-time with a temp agency, it'll at least buy us time to explore those alternatives more thoughtfully.
Okay.
Any other discussion? We did have the conversation. You thought 10,000 was probably overshooting what would be required. You were being generous with the 10,000, thinking that we would be less than that.
Right. I mean,
I know you can't
takes 10 hours.
it.
10 hours a week for 6 weeks. It's maybe that was a little tongue in cheek. But
Okay.
I wouldn't, we wouldn't go over it without.
Yeah. Okay. Any other discussion?
I just think it's important that we pass this and get our financial director some help. And I think it would be good for the entire borough and the staff, the administrative staff, too.
Other comments? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Cleaton, yes. Ms. Dan?
Yes.
Mr. Eaton?
No.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Tosti-Vasey?
Yes.
And Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Thank you. It's 5-1.
Thank you. Let's see. Consider approval of agreement with Full Service Network for hosted phone services. The suggested motion that the Borough Council approve the agreement with Full Service Network for hosted voice and telephone services for the Borough Office and Public Works Facility, as presented, and authorized the Borough Manager to execute all necessary agreement documents on behalf of the Borough.
So moved, Tosti-Vasey.
Thank you.
Second, Dan?
Thank you, Barb. Any discussion? My discussion is Alyssa did a nice job of researching this and finding a great cost savings for the borough. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Cleaton, yes. Ms. Dan?
Yes.
Mr. Eaton?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly? Yes. Ms. Tosti-Vasey? Yes. Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Next item, consider commitment of $1,000 local match to apply to grant funding opportunities for the Nittany Valley Transit Needs Assessment. The suggestion motion, the Borough Council authorize a commitment of $1,000 to apply as local match for grant funding for the Nittany Valley Transit Needs Assessment. Is there a motion on the floor?
I'll make the motion. Wilson?
Thank you. Second.
I'll second it, Dan.
Thanks, Barb. Discussion?
Do we have any background information on this? I'm sorry, I don't know what this is.
It's not in our packet, I don't believe.
Correct. Yeah, there's not a lot of background material that I think can be relevant to this consideration at this point. It's the Center County Metropolitan Planning Organization is in the process of prioritizing requests for funding on their Unified Planning Work Program. The Projects Committee, which is a small committee of the whole that's been formed to evaluate the different proposals, meets this Wednesday on August 5th. The way that they evaluate these proposals is through a scoring matrix that includes a number of variables. And to back up one step further, the Nittany Valley Transit Needs Assessment is one of those proposed projects. There's a regional transit committee that includes representatives from Borough Council, from other municipalities, although admittedly it is a much more borough-driven initiative. But we also have other stakeholders, like the director of the county transit office, Dave Lomason, the senior planner for the MPO, Greg Kausch, and Hugh Mose, who used to be who's retired now, but was the director of the Center Area Transit Authority. So it is a broader than the borough stakeholder group. They've been developing over the last several months, over a year, in fact, a scope of work to do this transit study and then propose to the MPO a request for funding. It's anticipated that that engagement, which would be a consultant-driven project, will cost approximately $150,000. The basis for that estimate is largely derived from similar studies, including the most recent Benner Pike Corridor study, and that was the cost of that engagement. The matching requirement varies depending on the funding vehicle that's applied to that particular project. In this case, if it is a UPWP project, a Unified Planning Work Program project, that local match is 2% or $3,000. We've received a cash commitment from one other partner in this transit needs assessment, although we've received more than 30 letters of support. And I say we, I mean the transit task force that was formed. The other funding partner so far that's committed is Benner Township, who's appropriated a match of $500. If Borough Council authorizes the $1,000 commitment for local match, there are other agencies that have indicated a willingness to match local funding, and we would be reaching out to them, the Transit Committee would be reaching out to them to secure that funding commitment optimally before they meet, the project committee of the MPO meets on August 5th. That would get us the 2% requisite local match that would provide us a boost in our scoring and how they evaluate those projects that are proposed. Unclear of if and when a study would be financed or funded. It could be as early as 2027. I think what we've heard from MPO staff is that it would likely be either 2027 or 2028, but part of that is contingent on availability of local match and other funding opportunities that may present themselves. Hopefully that answers some of your question.
Well, what about the donut that surrounds us? Are they going to contribute?
So far, only Benner Township has committed funding. All of the Nittany Valley municipalities have provided letters of support. Only one municipality has said that they would not contribute a local match, and that's Walker Township.
Okay, so nothing going east of us.
Correct.
Going east of Spring. And we also don't know if Spring will contribute.
Correct.
So this seems like a quick turnaround. Did you say they will need this by the 5th?
They will make the decision, the final rankings on Wednesday. Right now, we're in third place out of the 13 projects that they're considering. If we get this $1,000 tonight, plus a commitment from a couple other possibilities that we're going to contact tomorrow, it will bring us up to the 2%, which will add 2 more points to our matrix. And in looking over the matrix itself, there's an additional 2 or 3 points that we might be able to get in other areas where they didn't have enough information. When we met at the task force last week, Greg Couch was going to go back and see if we could get that part done. If we get those 4.5 points, we're right at 17, tied with the second place. And then it becomes a decision on, do you want to fund a transit project, or do you want to fund more brick and mortar road projects? And the PennDOT is looking to provide more funding for transit. So what we're trying to do right now is get these points up so that we can do a match to the second place. First place is a 0.5 point higher than the second place.
Okay, so does only first place?
They're only going to give 2 projects. We're in third place. So we need to get into the second place so we have a argument to have them do us instead of another one.
I see. Thank you. I'm always a little bit uncomfortable when these come at the last minute and we've got 2 days. And that's nobody's fault sometimes, I know that, so I'm a little uncomfortable with this. Thank you.
A question, if we are not chosen, then that money doesn't get spent, right?
That means that we go into the regular grant projects and we may need a $30,000 match.
Okay.
So,
but in general, though, you're correct. If there's no project, then we don't spend any local match.
Right.
So I'll be Debbie Downer. We have 30 letters of support. Of the 30 letters of support, Bellefonte Borough is trying to commit $1,000. We need $3,000. We've got 30 letters of support, but Bellefonte Borough and Benner Township are the only ones that are willing to chip in to this. Why isn't this, and I asked Joanne and Deb this the other day, why aren't there more people willing to, townships or organizations, willing to contribute to this $3,000? Why are we paying 1/3 of this agreement? We have, I know it's not the best, but we've provided for our Bellefonte residents a bus service at $36,000, and it's reasonably working reasonably. Okay? So if these other communities outside of the borough are that committed, it'll only take $250. And none of these letters of support, only 3, and us being one of them, is stepping forward with $1,000. It just, it's a little red flag to me. That's all. So I support it, your efforts. $1,000 isn't much, but I'm puzzled why we're the only ones that are willing to step up at this time.
We found out this matrix Tuesday of last week. We did not know what, where we were at or what was happening. We had told the people when we asked them for letters of support that we would be coming back to them to ask for matches once we knew where it was at. We haven't had time yet to make that request. Our plan at the next meeting is to start looking at the list and say, how much to ask? $250 here, $150 there. We have 2 groups that I know are going to be asked tomorrow if we do this evening. One of them is for a very minimal because they're tight budget. It's a non-profit. Time to do this, knowing until Tuesday of last week what was going on.
I would put it this way. I would say I would follow Benner's per cap. I would say I would be willing to vote for us matching Benner's per capita contribution. They're offering $500. I'm saying whatever, I can't remember exactly what their population is within the township, but I would say I'm willing, or I would say Bellefonte would be willing to match that same per capita amount, and then get your other contributors to fill in that amount. How's that?
The other question is, Joanne, if the others you're contacting tomorrow say, no, we're not interested, we'll still fall short of that goal. So
we'll fall short, but we will be able to get at least 1 more point. If we get this 3,000, we'll get 2 or 3 more points.
I think part of the important part of getting on the UPWP grant cycle is that the local...
I don't think that's a problem selling to this borough. It sounds like it's a problem selling that to the other 30 or 25 folks who wrote letters in support.
I think that we still will always have the problem if we don't have the support from the surrounding township.
About, trying to come up with a new bus service next week. We're trying to come up with a needs assessment with the amount of development that's going on around us, both commercially and residentially. There is a need now for transportation. Those needs are going to increase. Mm-hmm. So the needs assessment will give us an idea, and this will all be done through the MPO. This is not going to be a Bellefonte Borough project. The needs assessment will give us an idea of what the transit needs are in the Nittany Valley region and how to proceed from there, whether it's a collaboration with an existing service provider or whether we need to look at something differently, and this is not going to happen in the next even 2 to 3 years. We're at the very baby steps of getting this done, but we have an opportunity now to get into a grant cycle that's going to require a much lower local match to start.
So now would be the time for all the 30 letter writers of support to step up.
But we don't have the time before Wednesday to do that.
Any more discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Cleaton, yes. Ms. Dan?
No.
Mr. Eaton?
I'll vote to match Bender's. Yeah. I guess that's a no. I mean, if I'm being given the choice of putting in twice what Benner will commit and no commitment from Spring or any of the other communities and municipalities that are supposedly support this.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah, I know, John.
Yeah. But
it's a no vote.
It's presented, no.
Mr. Kelly?
I'm going to say yes.
Ms. Tassi Vasey?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Sure, that's the vote.
It's yes, 4-2.
I hope good luck with getting the other $15,000 or $2,000. We'll be anxiously awaiting your report.
Can I just add something post facto? That if, now that we have this commitment and we continue to approach these other letters of support providers, if they start kicking in more funding, we may not be kicking in $1,000. It could be potentially be a lot less than that. But this gives us a leg in the right direction. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on.
Hopefully you don't tell them that you got $1,500 already and you only need $3.
Right. Okay, public comment regarding issues not on the agenda. The public comment period is for oral comments regarding items not listed on this meeting agenda. Speakers shall identify themselves by name and street, municipality, if outside of the Borough of Bellefonte. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Anybody out there? Doesn't appear to be. Council member comments for the good of the order. Deb.
Yes, this is a very busy week for community events in Bellefonte. We have the first night out tomorrow evening down at the waterfront. I think it's from 5 to 8. And then also the Bellefonte Arts and Crafts Fair is Friday and Saturday of this week, and it looks like it's going to be a really big event. The footprint is bigger than it has been in the past years. And also it's Groundhog Day. Your tax bills have started to come into your mailboxes. Look for them because they still look like junk mail, but it does say official real estate tax bill on the front. So thank you.
Joanne.
Yes, the Center County Metropolitan Planning Organization is inviting the public to review and comment on the draft Center County Passenger Rail Access Study during a 30-day public review and comment period that ends on August 17th. The Center County Passenger Rail Access Study is intended to revisit the options and alternatives available for the county, assess demand for passenger rail service, identify the most sustainable options to improve access, and evaluate the willingness and ability of required partners to provide this access. It does provide a recommended implementation plan identifying partners, costs, required agreements, and potential funding sources. As part of the public comment, there will be hosting a public open house on tomorrow, August 4th. The first session is from 3 to 4:30 p.m., And the second session is from 6 to 7:30 p.m. at the Center Region Council of Governments Building General Forum Room in State College. You can also review the draft by going to crcog.net/transportation studies and clicking on the passenger rail access studies. Written comments can be sent to the link at the bottom of that page or by emailing Greg Kausch at gkausch, GKAUSCH, at srcog.net. And the final report will be completed during the fall of 2026. I plan on going to this one tomorrow afternoon, so I can also go to the night out event tomorrow night.
Thank you, Joanne. Zach?
No, with mercy.
Okay. John?
At some point in time, we're going to have a talk about, or discussion about, we're going to have a discussion about how much paint we can put on a crosswalk.
I think, Dave, I know that there are some missing on Bishop Street. Is that what you're referring to?
Everything is
Oh, you wanted some anti-skid put into that.
Oh, a whole lot of anti-skid needs to be put into it. We're basically reducing the pavement traction by about 50%. And we're painting more than 50% of the surface in the crosswalk. So,
Okay.
You're almost ensuring that people are going to skid on the crosswalks.
We've had this discussion before, years ago, and I know Matt Allman has experimented with different mixtures of anti-skid, but we'll remind him that.
Yeah, I think it's a little more expensive, but thermoplastic is pretty effective, not only for visibility, but also for some slip resistance. I know it seems counterintuitive because plastic, but it's a cured in place surface as opposed to a painted on surface, and I think in some conditions that fares a little bit better. I'm not too familiar with the different kinds of paint that are available, but we could certainly keep looking and see if there's a better option than what we're currently applying.
I'm just wondering, is the textured pavement a possibility?
Could do that. There might be an option there. So I'm thinking too, we might be able to kind of score it a little bit so it's got a little bit more tackiness on the surface.
Yeah, because right now we're making nice skid pads.
Definitely.
Thank you, John. Claudia?
I don't know if this came up earlier. I don't think, well, sometime. But the Citizens Police Academy, first 20 people to sign up can ride along and get a more detailed experience with the police. And I want to compliment that our Bellefonte Police Department is participating in that.
We will be hosting a night here as well.
Barbara?
Yes, thank you. The paving that was done by PennDOT on High Street and Bishop Street, we still do not have crosswalks and turn lanes. It does become a safety issue, both for pedestrians and also for cars that may not be familiar with these roads. And I guess one of my questions or concerns is, who is responsible if an accident does happen when we don't have these very important markings on these roads? And how do we encourage PennDOT to do this sooner rather than later? Since they are PennDOT roads, I would assume that they are responsible if something happens. Chief's shaking his head yes. And I do know that our Public Works Department is very good about doing the painting and upgrading it every year. So I don't know if we can check into that or...
I did get an update today. Do you remember when Matt said, he just mentioned it in passing. I'd have to check and get an answer back to council, but they are scheduled to do the striping of the turning lanes and the crosswalks. Do you have a date? The 6th and the 7th, that's this weekend. So.
Oh, great, okay.
It was a pretty, it was a short timeline. I was re-encouraged by that. We'll make sure they
Good.
do.
Well, it's not November, so that's a good thing.
It's not November, right, yes, yeah.
That's what we're hoping for. I also personally wanted to thank Bobby and Doug. You've been just an absolute pleasure coming into council. When you came in 22, that was my first time on council. I was only in a couple of meetings, and it was just so nice to see people step up with a concern. You were always very polite and very kind, and you presented all the facts. You got people involved. It was just all very impressive, and it was really a pleasure. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Just want to thank council and staff again for your diligent review of the capital improvement program. I think this is a very excellent tool for the borough, and I appreciate all your work.
Thanks, David. I have one. You all received it as I did. I passed it along to all council, I believe. It's at the table this evening. This came from Representative Carrie Benninghoff, and I'm going to read it. To whom it may concern, I am writing to formally request that the Department of General Services, if possible, provide a public announcement identifying which parcels of land surrounding the Rockview property are not being considered for sale by the state. As you know, I have been intimately involved in the ongoing discussion regarding the future use of the property. I continue to hear from many constituents and local officials with questions about what land may ultimately be available for redevelopment. I understand and respect that the reservoir and wood industry camp will remain as is. I appreciate the department's careful consideration of those important assets, the public and the governmental interests involved, and the property next best use. I am requesting a general public announcement identifying what acreage is off limits for consideration, and believe this would be extremely helpful. This would provide the community with a clearer understanding and may quell the multiple inquiries we get about the future of Rockview Prison building, as well as a buffer zone around Benner Correction Facility. For example, knowing if the discussion involves approximately 500 or 5,000 acres of land would largely improve public/private interest in future use. This will help the community engage in more informed planning. Thank you for your consideration into this request and your continued work on this matter. I appreciate your attention and look forward to your response. Sincerely, Carrie Benninghoff, State Representative, 171st Legislative District. So we all received that from Mr. Benninghoff, and I wanted to read that so that all of the public heard what we've heard. That's all I have. I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. Thank you. Thank you, Barb. We're adjourned.